Hey everyone, Temporal here, and today we are going to look at the new anniversary event skins, in part because they wiped the replay code, so that's what we've got to do. But let's take a look at these. We'll first show you all what they look like, then I'll sort of give some of my opinions on what we have here, and then we'll hear from you guys in the chat or in the comments below. But to start with, I'm just going to let it sort of do its pan. This is the background screen that they've given us. On the plus side, there's no music that we'll get tired of, like the arcade music we got tired of at Hanamura very, very quickly. But here's our quick pan across the heroes. This doesn't show all of them, but this is some of them here. Obviously, we have some that jump out at us. Doomfist doesn't particularly do it for me. That Junkrat's kind of funny. Sombra's probably going to be one of the more used skins for Sombra, would be my guess there. It's a solid Echo. I think that's a really good Hammond one there. So which skin gives us an advantage competitively? Bland stuff generally, more bland stuff with smaller weapons. It doesn't look like anything here really changes the size of the weapon, which is good. They've done that a few times, like McCree has a couple weapons that make his weapon bigger, take up more space on your screen. Those are things you want to avoid. Those are the types of things you want to avoid. The types of things you want to look for are things that potentially change what your hitbox looks like, even if it doesn't actually change your hitbox. Those can be good, and the things that change sound effects can be good. But they haven't done too many of those in any of these. In any of the skins, they've mostly shied away from those as the competitive community has objected. But anyway, let's head into the hero gallery so that we can get a look at all the actual skins, because those, of course, aren't everywhere. So our new skin here is Cybermedic, and it looks like this one comes from the Week 1 challenge. Did notice the challenge this time isn't just about getting wins. I think it used to be like you'd get 9 wins in a week to get the thing. This time it's about a total number of games played, it looks like. So that's a change. I don't know if that's a good change or a bad change. It looks like they're probably experimenting. Maybe they're trying to figure out, should we do a battle pass for Overwatch 2, experimenting with different things to sort of go, what do we do to maximize player engagement? Whether causing it to be here, where they're experimenting with just games played instead of wins, will cause people to not play as seriously. That could be a bad thing, but it looks like they're trying different things right now, because we also saw in the previous archive event they were doing a little more with like, go get these things from playing the story mode missions as opposed to playing the game. So looks like they're experimenting a little bit, and that I give them credit for. Figure out what works. So here we have the Anna skin from this event. Nothing too wild there. That's a reasonable skin. I don't think it'll take over for some of her other perhaps preferred skins. We see a lot of people are playing Sniper these days. Snow Owl has always been popular. I think those will probably continue to be pretty popular skins. Some of the Captain Amari stuff that use this Captain Amari colors of each other, I suspect those will continue to be popular. These are both popular. I don't think this is going to be overtaking stuff. This might be a little flavor of the month. The purple looks pretty cool. People might think your Anna's a Sombra, but I wouldn't expect this to take over. If we move on here, I don't believe Ash got anything, but let's take a look to confirm. Certainly wasn't in any of the pre-stuff. No, Ash didn't get anything new for our event here. Baptiste, we do know, got a new skin, and that's going to be this right here. So we've got some Afro Bap going on. I think this is a pretty reasonable skin. I think people will have fun with this one, going, hey, Disco's dead, no, Disco's still alive. I think this one will see some work, probably see some use. I also feel like Bap hasn't had amazing skins in general. He's got the Buccaneer Pirate thing going on. He's got the special ops type stuff going on. But in general, I don't think he has as strong of a skin selection as Anna does, so I could see this seeing some longer term use. Okay, Bastion, don't believe you got anything. No, this is an old anniversary one. Is this new? This is an old anniversary one. Yeah, okay. Let's continue going through here. Bridget, what do we have for our skins? These are old anniversary loot box ones. This isn't new as best I can tell. Is this new? No, I think this one's been here. Okay. So we'll keep on going through here. I don't believe we have a Diva one here. Those have been in it before. Okay. So let's continue on through here. Temporal, use the filter button. He also seems to be comparing with the existing. Go to main menu and click on what's new. I mean, I could do that. Fine. Fine. We'll do what's new. We'll do it your way, guys. We'll do it your way. We talked about this. I was doing comparing, but this will be faster. We have Birds of Paradise, so yeah, we'd have had to go a fair bit to get there. So this is the skin. We saw it in the menu. It was one of them that made it to the main menu, unlike Cybermedic here. I think this will have some value. I mean, if we do click through to Echo, let's go back to our Echo and just do it like this. We can see that, hey, we've got Birds of Paradise, but when we look at her other options, you know, we've got something with the camo/stealth stuff. We've got something with Kachi here. That's pretty solid. I could see Birds of Paradise sticking around. I could see this sticking around. Again, some of these newer heroes that have less skins to play with are going to like some of these more. Let's go back to our what's new. We talked about 8-Ball. I expect this will be popular. It might not be a radical redesign, but come on. A hamster in a vest there, like, you can't go wrong with that. That's going to be great. The 8-Ball on it, I think this is going to be a popular skin, but we'll see. We talked about Funky here. I'm not a huge fan of this. This doesn't really do anything for me at all. Let's go check Doomfist skins in general to get a bit of a reminder of what he's got these days. And so we look through this. Formal has always been popular. That's had some popularity. Avatar's had a little bit. And then we're basically just into, hey, we're mostly in recolor type stuff here. So Doomfist doesn't have amazing skin options in my mind, so that might get us something for Gladiator. I don't think it's an amazing skin personally. It's a nice touch to have the tiger skin here under like that. Like, that's a nice touch. I can see that good work was put into this skin. This gives us something a little different with the helmet, and that can be nice from a competitive standpoint, I suppose, where it's like, wait, hey, does that count as a head hitbox or no? And it doesn't, but it'll mess people up. It'll annoy people when they shoot at it, and it doesn't hurt him. So you could argue, hey, there's a little something there. But really, moderately good skin here. Not amazing. If he had better skin options, it would stick, but he's not a new hero. He's been around for a long time, so maybe it will. Maybe this will be a place to go. Obviously, I'm interested in your opinions on this on these two guys. This is not a serious review, even if it's temporal reviewing the new skins. It's not a terribly serious review. Definitely interested in what you guys think as well, seeing if you guys have different takes. If that's your favorite skin in the world, we should know that. We should definitely know that. Let's take a look here. This is funny. Don't have any issues with this. I mean, you know, we've got an ice cream cone crown. We've got a twirly candy leg there. We've got candy as part of the knee joint. I wonder how often you need a knee replacement when your knee joint is made out of candy. He's got some okay ones, but I think this one will be fun and we'll see some use. This one certainly made the rounds of Moira has turned into a plant. Okay, Moira can be a plant. Sure, Moira can be a plant. I think plant can be a good theme. I don't necessarily think this is the most amazing job of pulling off plant as a theme. Like, it's not terrible. We've got the vine shoes. We've got, hey, a little bit of that going. But if we go and look back at Moira skins in general, let's see what our options are. In terms of our other good ones there. We see Blackwatch sometimes. Yeah. See some Banshee. Again, this is one of those heroes. Do see some Moon out there. This is one of those heroes that is suffering a bit from not having the greatest skin selection, and that might boost this thing's use a bit just because not the greatest skin selection. And this is an okay job pulling off the plant suit, the plant theme, the poison ivy, etc. jiggly cream on the shoe for Junkrat, or for junk food Junkrat. Yeah, that's funny. Blackwatch like is like the only good Moira skin. Yeah, and I think that's mostly going to continue to be the case. I'm looking at this and going, hey, we've got this. We've got, where did we lose it to? We've got Blackwatch. That's a good one. I think people agree that's a good one. This might see some promise. They're going for Venus here, probably playing on the Venus Flytrap. I'd like to see a little more. I'd like to make it a little more obvious that we're going for the Venus flytrap if we're calling this Venus. I'd also like to see, maybe a little bit more in terms of vine stuff. Like, why do we not have a belt that's made out of a vine? Why do we not have a little bit more here? Like, yes, the shoes do a good job with this. The flower in the hair, that's a nice touch. Could we have made, yes, we have some vine wrapping around the tubes that go into the backpack for the heal juice versus damage juice, etc. But I think we could have done better with this. The flower for the hand, that was a nice touch, as well as the flower there. So there's some good touches. There's some good attention to detail. I just don't think, I'm not going to say, oh, it was poorly done. I just don't think it's going to wow too many people. Kind of too purple? Yeah. What if there was a skin that made Moira a better support and not just a heal bot? Wouldn't that be something? Okay, so there was Moira. Now we get through to Black Cat. I expect that this will be popular. Apparently, we're going with Batman bad guys as a theme, where we've got, the Poison Ivy, we've got the Black Cat thing going on here. Like, we see what's going on here. We see where the current round of inspiration come from. Where's Mr. Penguin? Where's someone with an umbrella? Where's that? Where's Joker? Not sure why we didn't get those, but we did get this. And if we compare it to her skins, she's got some okay ones. She's, of course, got Tulum here, which is a pretty popular skin. She's got Bride, which is okay. You see a fair bit of Rhyme out there. And then I think Black Cat. And Black Cat probably will take over as the most popular Sombra skin. I'm just going through here. Those are our recolors. Yeah, I expect that that's probably going to take over as Cyberspace does well. Cyberspace and its recolor both do well, but I would be surprised if Black Cat does not take over as the most popular Sombra skin, at least for a while. Cat Sombra is going to be big fodder for Rule 34? Almost certainly. Okay, so that's those. If we go back to what's new here, these we see less, so it's not going to matter as much, but we'll do a quick run through here. Okay. No. Yeah. Okay. Awkward, but workable. That fits for me. What? That's an impressive lean, buddy. Like, it is work to lean like that. Like, that lean is... It is harder to lean on that than it is to just stand up. Like, you are exerting more calories, more effort, more... Okay, weird. We're not going to go through all those voice lines, but we can go through sprays pretty quickly. Okay. This is, like, better than what the actual skin looks like. Like, can we get this artist rendition? Like, this is better than what the actual skin looks like. This would have been no complaints. Okay. Okay. So that's what we've got there, and we're not going to go through all the... Well, okay, fine.
My blade never dulls.
At least I'm not a hog.
Smile.
At least I'm not a rat.
Settle down.
We're a good team.
Your judgment is flawed.
How riveting.
Give up! Me? No way.
Amusement.
Okay, So that's what we've got there. That's the full list of what's new. Let's hear from you guys. What do you think about them? Do you guys have a favorite? Do you guys have ones that you absolutely hate? Ones that you really like in these? Do you wildly disagree with any of my takes of what's going to be popular and what isn't? Let's hear from chat. Temporal is a fashion expert. Okay, okay. So bad though. Temporal is a bad fashion expert. Perfectly reasonable take. Perfectly reasonable take. None of them have scarves, so they're all wrong in my book. But hey, uh, Nolan got almost to masters on no primary fire Moira. It's such a bad skin. Penguin May. Yeah, but that's not really Mr. Penguin. That's not really Mr. Penguin, and that's not this patch. This has clearly got some of the Batman villain inspiration. That Penguin is like penguins in general, not Mr. Penguin. There's no Harley though to go with the Poison Ivy and Catwoman. That's true. That's true. Sombra one tricks always with the Demon Hunter Prestige skin though. That's true. That's true. What if they did a new map or hero instead of Cat Sombra? Yeah, that could be good. That could be good. A new map or hero. That said, do I trust them to do a new map? Does anyone trust Overwatch to do a new map at this point? Like from the team that has given us from the team that gave us, I mean, even Junkertown isn't wildly popular, but like newer maps include things like Junkertown, Horizon, Lunar Colony, Paris. Really? Oh, do I want this team? Do I want this team doing more maps? Because like the post-release maps have not been particularly amazing. Like yes, we've had other ones like Oasis that are fine, but this is not a good collection of post-release maps that we're dealing with here. And we also have enough maps. Like, I really don't think the game actually needs more maps that badly. I would much prefer development be focused on heroes. And I also find that maps, you'll see the pros complain about, hey, the map pools are too big. Tournaments generally limit the map pools. If we were to get maps that were significantly more different, where we were going to see more of a focus on, hey, this map is intentionally designed to make Widow powerful with very long sight lines. This map is intentionally designed with very short sight lines to make Brawl more powerful. That could work. This map is intentionally designed with closed spaces, but a lot of different high grounds, etc., in these closed spaces to be an interesting mix between brawly and divey stuff while not making poke stuff powerful. Like if Overwatch wanted to design maps a little more with those intents, that could be interesting to me. But I have not been super impressed with most of the post-release map pool. And some of people's favorite maps is basically the first map, King's Row, and my favorite map is Gibraltar, which obviously that was a relatively early speaking map. I think most people's favorites maps, Lijiang Tower is a popular favorite among people. I think the early maps are fine, and I actually think we have enough maps. I wouldn't spend much effort there. I would instead be spending it on heroes if I was Overwatch. Okay, so okay. I didn't know Temporal even played Overwatch. I don't really. I mean, I have an account, but that doesn't mean I play very much. Torp has used all his engineering powers to make the pose work. Pretty much. Scarf judging the patch. Temporal, if you were to have a skin made after you, which character would it be for? Ooh. I mean, I like Winston and Anna. Those are probably my favorite heroes. But they've both got good skins. Oof. But if it was after me, it would probably be Winston. That's probably where I'd go. Yeah. Yeah. You wear the same scarf every day. Why are you judging other people's outfits? Excuse me? Excuse me? I don't wear the same scarf every day. I wear this scarf more often than a different scarf, but I wear a different scarf. There's another scarf we mix in there, and as we pass more sub goals, maybe we'll see more scarves come out. Who knows? Who knows? The weekly skins are a bit disappointing in my opinion. I love Funky and Gladiator the most. Yeah. Yeah, but they want you to spend on loot boxes. They want to give you something for free, but then they want to entice people to spend on loot boxes. So they'll give something in there to make it be like, oh, you can get this by playing, etc. But really, they want to do that. Paris, yeah, Paris. I want a Hammond skin that makes Sonic spin dash sounds when he goes into Fireball. Competitively, that would be bad, but yes, that could be fun. Okay. I love me being sarcastic about Paris. Hollywood's a good post-release map. Um, was Hollywood not out on release, or are you considering it a remake because they added the elevators? I feel like Hollywood was in the map pool the whole time. Am I wrong, or are you specifically referring to how the elevators change it because of the elevator rework? I didn't remember that not being part of the original. And if it was part of the original, that's doesn't really change my point because that was, hey, we still have some of the team still around. The farther we get from release, the more the team has changed. That's just how it is going to work in any video game. Baptist lamp should have disco lights. Okay, okay. That could be fun. I mean, there's a skin with a scarf. Tracer has a scarf skin. Tracer, we can go... Where is it? It's not sprinter, track and field. She has a slipstream. There we go. Yeah, see? We've got a scarf skin in the game. It exists. Okay. They got a new map designer though. We'll see. We'll see. Because, unless it's in competitive, doesn't really matter. Why tarnish Winston's name with a temporal skid? Ouch, Jumbo. Ouch. I'm wounded. I'm so wounded. McCree with a scarf could be cool. Could be. Could be. Major Midget, excuse me, coming in here with the Moira skin comment. Okay, cool, cool. For those of you that don't know, we are doing an interview with Major Midget on Thursday, so I recommend you all come back to check that out. That'll be interesting. We'll pick his brains, see what he can tell us about the hero guides that he's rapidly coming close to completing his library for, see what he can tell us about console Overwatch, as he's a bit of an expert there, as well as the competitive scene that exists over there, which, that even existing is probably news to some Overwatch viewers. So definitely come back and check that out. Rialto was a pretty good map. I think Rialto is a pretty good map. I don't dislike Rialto that strongly. Rialto gives me a little bit of pause over, hey, second point, control over that high ground is so strong. But that's true of other maps as well. So I'm not going to knock it too hard for that. Okay. Yeah, Havana again, but I consider Rialto and Havana kind of mid-tier maps. They're fine. I don't have issues with them. But if we go, hey, we've had 3 maps that really aren't great. We've had some maps that are only okay. I can't think of a great map that's been released. We have had maps that are okay. Like, I have no problem with Havana being in the pool, Rialto in the pool, no problems with those. But are those really anyone's favorite? Whereas Paris and Lunar Colony and even Junkertown are definitely some people's least favorites. Is is Liddy too zoomer of a word for you? Little bit. Very excited. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Remember when they said they were gonna balance console differently and just kind of didn't? Yeah, they made like 2 changes and then stopped. It's true. It's true. They did a little more than that. They did something with making the sim turrets weaker at one point, something like that. Maybe Torb turret too, but yeah, it was very little. Havana is so sniper dominated. But again, I don't actually mind that. I don't mind intentionally designing a map to sort of be a meta breaker. Like, what you run into right now in the game is it's like, oh, is Brawl hard meta? And Brawl isn't hard meta right now, but if Brawl was hard meta, or if you were looking at, hey, is Goats hard meta? Well, what does Gibraltar have to say about that? Or is Dive hard meta? Okay, well, what does King's Row have to say about that? Like, I like when you have a map that sort of goes, nope, I'm going to challenge this. Or is this hard meta? Well, what does is so and so hard meta? That's not poke. Well, what does Ruins have to say about that? Is Widow going to come out and say, nope, on Ruins we're playing Widows? Like, I like having maps like that that force a bit more. They're extreme enough to force a change, but that's just me. Because that lets you have more diverse metas permanently when you have maps that just don't allow for these 6 years every time, both directions on every map. Can't remember any good experiences on Lunar or Paris. I can remember a couple on Lunar, but Paris not so much. Temporal's map tier list and melee greater than Brawl. Temporal's map tier list. Ooh, yeah, we can do that. That's totally what this video is about. But hey, we can do it. Overwatch maps. Okay, let's pull this over here. Okay, so as we look through this, oh no, we want competitive. Oh, don't do it like this. Really? Ugh. That doesn't organize well. I just want to limit to the competitive mode without... Okay, we'll do it like this. Okay, so if we go through control, if I look for favorite versus least favorite, I really like Ilios. Ilios does a good job of encouraging three different types of play to happen. You've had a lot of situations where, well, for example, you want an Orisa on, Ruins you want a Winston on, and then the last one you want a Rhine on. That's happened in multiple metas, and I really like that, so that's good. Nepal, that's true to a lesser degree on, but is still good. I unfortunately have not been a huge fan of Lijiang Tower currently because it's moved so heavily towards Symmetra on two, if not all three of the maps. We saw too much of that, and I just can't really get behind that. Busan's fine. Busan's fine. Mecha Base does some interesting things to divide it from the other two sections of the map. And then we have, I'm blanking on it. I'm totally blanking on the name, but the one with the drum in the middle tends to do a good job historically of like quad DPS being viable there type stuff, really encouraging sort of using the space, poke, etc. So I like this a fair bit too. So far it would be my tier order on these would probably be, this is currently my least favorite. I don't hate it or anything, but it's my least favorite of these. This is probably my favorite of them. And Oasis is not as diverse, but still a fun map. So my tier list would be like, if I were to put these in order, it would probably be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But again, I like all of the Koth maps pretty much, so it's not a serious dislike of any of them, but this would be my favorite. Stands a little bit above the others. If we move on to Assault, easy peasy. This is the favorite. I think this is a well-designed map. Yes, it is a poke favored map. I still like it. I think the space that can be used between first and second is not worthless, which is good for a 2CP map and not always the case. I like how second point really has the choke, but the choke is sort of a bait. The high ground is better on first, and I like what it does in terms of the terrain in general on Volskaya is well done. Please get rid of this. Please get rid of this. This would be my second favorite. It's a fine map. It's a middle of the pack map for me. This is actually a high tier map for me. Like, this is a high tier in general map for me. If we were looking at all of the maps, this is a high tier map. This is just a middle of the pack map. And this is a low tier map that I accept. Like, I don't want these to exist. At least Hanamura is pretty. There's actually been some cool strategies that Hanamura has allowed for. Like Hanamura was one of the original cool Sim TP locations. Sim Bastion teleport onto second type stuff. Throw up a Sim wall win like that. Like there's been some cool stuff around this, and I don't mind Sim here nearly as much as I mind the prevalence of Sim on night markets, gardens, etc. for our control there. So this is okay with me. That's where I am on that. Make a separate video, milk the views. I should have. I should have. Ilios well is your least favorite map. Every time it comes up, the memories of falling down the well flash before your eyes. That's true. That's true. Okay. And yes, I should have made this a separate video. I almost did, but too bad. Oh, Dorado. I like Dorado. So this is my all-time favorite map. This would be my next choice among these, followed by this. And you'll notice these are all early or original game maps. And I don't need this deleted, but I don't particularly like this one. Tough call. I'm probably going to go here because it does what I talk about of forcing diversity of playstyles. As in, Poke is more powerful here than it is in much of the rest of the map pool. And Rialto's fine. Both Havana and Rialto are fine maps. I'd probably take Havana over Rialto just due to the fact that Havana, again, forces Poke harder than the rest of the map pool. So does Junkertown, but come on, it's Junkertown. Okay. God, you hate Hanamura? I hear you. I hear you. Hanamura is pretty. The song is cool. Unfortunately, attacking second is a nightmare. A nightmare. Okay. And then we've got one more here, and that would be this guy. Oh, yeah, Blizzard Rule's fine. And as we look through here, this is tough. I like all three of these maps quite a bit. This is tough. I'll probably have Rioting if I don't just pick King's Row, though. Honestly, my 1, 2, and 3 are all really close on this. Like, my 1, 2, and 3 are all really close on this one, but I won't cop out. I will pick... I like Numbani. I do. Then it's going to be Kings Row. Then it's Hollywood. I would put almost no division between these three maps, though. These are all good maps. These are all above the 50%, like balance of the maps. These are all above. These are all, oh, it popped, cool, or oh, let's plan for how to do these. I like that Kings Row, while it does tend to lean towards brawl stuff more so than the rest of the map pool, and that's bonus points to it in my book. It's still playable to do other things. Hollywood, I in general like when they do a good job of going with these maps, these 3-point maps, and second point looks fairly different, has a bunch of high ground juice, etc. And then Numbani, similar, except Numbani goes really heavy on the high ground on first point, less important on the second, and much less important on the third. I'd then go with Blizzard World over Eichenwald, and both of these were later added maps. These were post-release maps. Blizzard World is the more recent of the two, but these are all fine maps, but these three are definitely higher on my list than these two. Like, there's a noticeable gap after these three before we get to these two. Okay, and that's all the maps. So that's all the maps. I didn't put them like 100% in order. I just put them in order within their categories. And I can't just put the categories in order because it is a thing where, well, all of the control maps are better than, like, all of these control maps are better than all of these maps except for Volskaya. Let's take a look. Escort, if I'm sort of using control in general, I like more, obviously, than that. I also probably like a little bit more than these two, control in general, compared to these two. like these three more than the control game mode in general, though Ilios probably bumps itself above everything except Gibraltar with these. And these three do well. Perfectly happy to see control, perfectly happy to see these. Yeah, these are probably about Volskaya Industries tier for me, and these are a bit worse. Um, yeah. So I think that's a pretty reasonable comparison among all the maps in terms of my opinions. I'm sure you guys have different opinions on some of those. Volskaya is awesome. Double choke for attackers is awesome on first point. I'm not the one falling down the well. It's the tank who keeps standing in the same place. I hear you. It's weird how Nimbani only has first and third point. Second point just doesn't exist. That's not true. Strangely, they'd make a hybrid map without a second point. Because it takes a week and a half to walk back from the spawn to contest payload on second. That's true, but you can still get a stop on second. There have been epic fights around bus control. I mean, if we're talking about Numbani, let's go back here. If we're talking about Numbani, there have been epic fights around bus, and there have been fights right before the checkpoint. Fights right before the checkpoint are hard for the defenders, but they do have a spawn advantage of sorts there. And fights around bus happen as long as you don't pile back into trying to contest something that was 80% capped on first there. Okay. That's maybe we wandered a bit. It was Overwatch anniversary skins and map review or map tier list. But hey, that'll do it for this one. If you guys have any final questions or comments, throw them up in chat. If you guys are enjoying this type of content, please do let me know. Liking and subscribing is the best way to do that. Really helps me out, and I really do appreciate that. Or if you are looking to get coaching or see what sort of events we're doing, see what the community's up to, you can join the Discord in the description below, see what my coaching rates look like. Again, see what we've got planned. We've got the interview with Major Midget I mentioned earlier in the video coming up. We've got a duel with the Bronze Bandits that we're looking at figuring out what the roster for is going to look like. All sorts of interesting things there. What's my opinion on crypto? Ooh. Now we're really wandering with this one, topic-wise. Okay. My opinion on crypto is it's probably going to stick around. But what you look at is it's going to crash a couple more times. Crypto will continue to do its Crypto has a lot of room to grow still, but crypto is going to crash meaningfully, like big crashes, a couple more times on its way up. That doesn't mean that there'll be 80% crashes, but a lot of the money in crypto right now is hey, this stuff can't help but go up. And a lot of money in crypto is people who don't really understand it, who, are just sort of like, hey, I'm here. Crypto, I think, will stick around long term for a couple reasons. One of those is people have concerns about inflation, and people have real concerns about inflation, and how we report inflation across specifically in America is what I can talk with the most about, but the American economy has a lot of control over the world economy, and people just don't buy it because we tie our inflation to the consumer price index in a lot of ways. We don't tie it to how much money is actually out there. We tie it to the momentum. That's not quite the right word, but effectively the momentum of money. And there's concerns about that are real, that, hey, that's not the real right way to track inflation. That's not what people actually mean when they talk about it. It's just how it gets reported. So like there's that, and I think that's a driving force for crypto. There's, hey, it's not centralized and regulated the same way that some other stuff is. There's the ability to use it between countries, which has some value. This technology has some real value. And there's also, speaking of this, that's not regulated and controlled, there's some things about sort of the world where America currently gets the benefit of being the world's reserve currency, and that does it a lot. And I mean a lot of good financially, and that's really cool for America. But that lets it get away with its own things, like the money printing that it does, that is things that other countries can't necessarily get away with the same way. Like, I don't think most Americans understand how much being the world's reserve currency helps them, and that's the sort of thing that is perhaps vulnerable on multiple fronts. Right now, it continues to be the case because they were able to get that position in sort of a, hey, post World War II, the manufacturing across the Europe, which was the other center, has been destroyed. Everyone has to buy from the U.S., etc. Plus, America had the biggest military at the time, so hey, that sort of made sense. It became a stable currency. America has relatively low levels of corruption compared to other countries out there. Again, that's compared to other countries out there. That is not me saying, oh, there's no corruption whatsoever. So it made sense at the time, and America has mostly maintained that powerful enough position. But there's things around like how America does sanctions, how it cuts off people. There are other countries and leaders in other countries and wealthy people in other countries and wealthy people in America who don't like how much control the American government gets over the financial system and would like something that, oh, we're sanctioning so and so. Well, you can't really sanction them when you see silly things like you can sanction very effectively when you see like 90+% of transactions go through something called Swift. You guys can look it up where, oh, look, you really can't move money around if America sanctions you. So there's things like that where people would prefer to create situations where their money can't be seized, or their money can't, if not be seized, at least stop them from being able to access it, that causes a decentralized thing to want to exist. And even if America regulates it heavily and tries to go, no, these cryptos can't exist, etc., or we're going to come up with our own crypto, I don't think the rest of the world is going to buy in this time. I think you would see a powerful enough country like a Germany, like an Australia, like a Japan say, no, we're not such a fan of how you're doing this. We're going to let this work. And if your crypto works in one of those countries, that's real money because those are countries that you can get access to just about anything in. So my guess is that crypto is going to stick around, but there's a lot of money in crypto right now that is more scared of inflation than it necessarily should be, and a lot of money that is just sort of FOMO, fear of missing out. And some of that stuff is going to leave at some point between now and when crypto hits its actual future value, etc. So we're going to see crashes again, like we're sort of seeing a crash right now. Okay, great stream liked. Thank you, Mateo. I think the better question is, what does Temporal's mining rig look like? Okay. That's a fair opinion. Every 1.9 trillion bill makes me more and more scared of having money in USD. Understand? uh, that's the reason we spend so much on the military, so we can keep on printing. Yeah, but like the US hasn't. So, yes, yes, the US gets a lot of benefit. All of the money that the US spends on the military is not without merit. If you understand that the military is a permanent works program for the US, like the US has a permanent works program. It's called our military. It's okay, this is our permanent job works program for people who want to get out of poverty, want to climb, want to get their college paid for, don't have jobs where they live, etc. That's what it is. It's a public works program, and it's a permanent investor thing for, hey, we'll funnel money from the government to the defense sector in terms of contractors, etc. So like that's what the military is, but it's a way to spend on a works program that does get the US a fair amount of benefit. Is it as good as if, the economy was working perfectly, etc.? Probably not, but it is something where they're able to do, hey, it's a public works program that has historically given them a fair amount of leverage around the world. That's a little bit coming to an end for a couple reasons. One is we're moving on to cyber warfare. Cyber warfare really just makes that less practical. It's also running into the world in general. At least the Western world has become a little more polite. Use of force is viewed as a little more, you can't do that, etc. So it sort of doesn't work. There's also, they haven't really been able to use it to do things that it would historically do to reseize assets for the US without being shamed, etc., which makes it less effective. And finally, it hasn't fought against not finally, two more things. Next, it hasn't really been challenged, it hasn't really been tested against an adversary that's actually a meaningful threat to it. So even though it likes to brag about the toughest, best, biggest military in the world, there's no real clue on how it would fare in actual combat against a near equal opponent because Russia, the Cold War's over. Russia's gone. Like World War II is over. This hasn't fought a meaningful war against an equal opponent in like 75 years. So really, how much better than everyone else's is it? How well deployed? How good are the logistics, etc. Does become more and more of a question mark as time goes on from there. And finally, you do run into, okay, if there is the biggest opponent for the US would be China from a military standpoint. China right now could probably get crushed, but China's build path for building military power is they did it in a ramp stage. If you guys have played any sort of RTS, they went, we accept that if military conflict happens right now, we lose, but we're building a aggressive ramp stage where we're going, I'm going to build a bunch of command centers or I'm going to build a bunch of barracks. And if you push me early, I'll crumble and lose. But if you don't push me early and I get to build 8 barracks when you only built 2 barracks or you only built 4 barracks, if you push me early with your 2 or 4 barracks, I'll crumble because I have no units. But if you don't push me early and you wait until I have 8 barracks, I can produce units on the spot and beat your 4 barracks, beat your 2 barracks, and then easily overwhelm you. And if you look at China's posturing, that's much more what they're doing. And if the US isn't going to just go, hey, we're going to abuse that we have this now, there's a bit of a threat there would be a thing. Which, maybe there's no threat whatsoever. Maybe everything's going to be peaceful and everything is going to be fine. But even this will allow for better leverage in negotiations later, having this. So there's questions to be had there. The US's military isn't doing everything for it that it used to in terms of enforcing the US's reserve currency status. Okay. Um, okay. He controls the crypto. Little bit. Tell us when we should buy graphics cards for Overwatch. Temporal will tell you how much money you lose by using graphic cards for Overwatch instead of mining crypto. We can take on the Brits again. Let's not. Uh, uh, so you're saying Zergling or Zealot rush early? No, not necessarily. I am not advising on military or political strategy. People would have to pay me to do that. It would be very expensive to pay me to do that. I'm just kind of stating what the evidence says is going on. I'm not necessarily making a judgment of this as what should be gone and done. I am not advocating that either side start a war. But if you have one side going, hey, this is going to be a 2 barracks rush, but then they don't rush, and the other side going, we're going to hard macro to 8 barracks, if this isn't taken advantage of, if this isn't aggressively used, this will win. This will be more valuable later. That's just how it works. I mean, maybe we haven't all played RTS, but I'm primarily speaking from a channel that reviews a Blizzard game, and that is, so I'll use the StarCraft analogy there. Temporal, what's your rate on temporal consulting on how to conquer the world? More expensive. If you have to ask, you can't afford it. Oh, can I pay with a tropical island if your strategy works? Okay. See, now maybe you can afford it. Okay. Uh, I mean, again, it doesn't necessarily have to be like, I am not advocating for let's necessarily use this military might to actually do battle, but you do have to use it at least for, okay, what is going to be done? Like, if you have a temporary advantage, if you have a temporary advantage because your build strategy gave you this temporary advantage as opposed to a longer term thing, and by going for this, you forego the option to do this, you do need to do something that slows this down, or you need to use this to win something else. Even if it's not this, okay, we might not stop you from getting the 8 barracks, but we're doing this that stops you from getting Vespian gas, so you can't come at us with fire bats, you can only come at us with Marines, whereas now when you're at 8, we're at 4, but we can run fire bats. Again, I'm doing the StarCraft analogy because Blizzard is something that I think most of you have a bit of a background with. We're doing this to allow us to go, hey, we did this, but we got an early expo, and because we got the early expo, we're not worried about this because we can catch back up. There's different moves you can make, and they don't have to be war. I am not advocating for war here. We have to push while they don't have cooldowns. If you think of it as that simple, yes, that would be the answer, but there are other solutions. Like May McCree versus McCree 2. Okay. Okay. We're done here. We're done here. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks. Temporal out.